Okay, so today I'm going to talk about flexible dieting and how you can use this system I've come up with to facilitate a little bit more ease through your transformation journey. Because ultimately, the plan that you can stick to the longest is the one that's going to work for you. Before I even go into these stages, though, I want to point out that the word flexible dieting has the word dieting in it. So this means that you still have to be in a caloric deficit in order to reach your fat loss goal. Now, these stages, however, is how we go into a little bit more depth of how you could be doing that and keeping your calorie restriction while still enjoying some of the foods. So stage number one is, I guess we can call it the gold standard. If you can stay in stage one for as long as you can, that means that you are fully responsible and you know exactly what goes in and what comes out, and you will be tracking your calories and your macros to as close as you possibly can. And as I just said, you want to be able to stay in stage one as often as you possibly can. But it's not always feasible. You do have a life, there are social events happening, you have work, whatever it is. So sometimes we need to take on another strategy. So going to stage two would be the second best to do. And that just means that you're tracking your calories and your protein. And you can then be borrowing calories from fats and bring it to carbs, or from carbs bringing it to fats, because it gives you a little bit more flexibility with what you can and cannot do. So say that you got invited for dinner, it's a lot easier to maybe be a bit more flexible with your carbs and fats just for that sake. And it also works if you are having a day where you just feel like, meh, I hate this today. You can make it work. You can fit in a little bit more of something nice, because your calories won't be like too odd when you're actually doing it. And a lot of the time it is just down to carbs and fats what you've been craving. So if you want more carbs, you can borrow from your fats. Stage number three is where you track your calories only, and this is okay, but it's not optimal. I would say the only time that you want to do this is possibly at Christmas, but I would most likely take a day off when it's like really like high season. You know, one day of modest eating is not going to harm you unless you go extremely crazy. It's going to take a couple of weeks to like recover from it. But yeah, you can go down to stage three if you really have to, where it just means stick within your calorie goal and just eat whatever you want within that calorie goal. We want to make sure that whenever you can, though, you're up at stage one, because that is really where you're going to have the maximum accountability and responsibility to actually nailing your targets. The last thing I want to just leave you with is borrowing. And this is a strategy that you can be using if you are already knowing that something's going to happen over the weekend. Say that you got invited to someone's house and they're going to have a 3-course meal. You already might feel stressed that you're going to be overeating. So what you can be doing is that the week prior to that event, you can borrow calories, which means cut down calories from Monday to Friday. And then on the Saturday, those calories that you cut out, they're going to be allocated to that event, so that you know that you can be eating and you can be enjoying it, and it won't do much to the weekly average. And this is a really good strategy if you plan ahead. Okay. However, before I leave you, I just want to point out that the goal is still to create good habits and to track things as accurately as possible. So if you're already in the mindset of like, oh, I can borrow some from today and I'll put it on tomorrow, and I'll borrow a little bit here and I'll do a little bit there, then you defeat the purpose of flexible dieting and probably like the whole thing about establishing good habits. And yes, borrowing should be done really when needed, when planning ahead, and not on like a micro basis. Of course, if you accidentally overeat one day, you could reduce the food a little bit the next day. But again, the point of having targets is to try and stick with these targets so that you have a good understanding of what you need each day. So yeah, that is flexible dieting. I use it myself. I try and teach all of my clients what flexible dieting means, because ultimately, as I said earlier, the plan which you can enjoy the most while still seeing results is the one that's going to be working for you. So if you are not doing really well with a super strict diet, then flexible dieting really is for you, and this is how you would implement it. So I hope that this helps, and if you have any questions, just let me know.